Hello, Oilers fans, Canucks fans, and everyone else tuning in. My name is Austin. Welcome to the day after discussion of the Oilers' 5-1 victory over the Vancouver Canucks. So last night in Game 6, it was do or die at Rogers Place for Edmonton. They found a way to come out on top, and overall, I thought that was one of their best defensive efforts of the entire postseason, and one of the best defensive efforts I've seen Edmonton play in months. Everyone was committed. Everyone was bought in. Vancouver, they had some looks. They did miss the net a lot on some of their opportunities, and Stuart Skinner made some big saves. He didn't have to make a lot of big saves, but he did make them when he had to. Stuart Skinner, there was a lot of talk about whether they should have started him or not. And, I was saying that I think, I understand why. If you go down with the ship, Stuart Skinner is one of the reason why Edmonton was even able to, bounce back in the regular season. They went on that big 16-game win streak. He was instrumental in the success of this team in the regular season. So I understand why they went back to him. An opportunity to rewrite the books a little bit, rewrite history, rewrite the narrative, and, flip it on its head and become the guy that Edmonton needs to make a deep run in the postseason. And I was really happy with Skinner's game last night. Obviously, that first goal, there were some people in the live chat. By the way, I do live stream all these games, so make sure you are liked and subscribed so that you don't miss those. There was some chat about that first goal from Höglander that Skinner should have stopped, and I was sitting there. I was like, well, he stopped the first shot. You probably shouldn't give up multiple opportunities after that first shot is saved in close like that. McLeod and Desharnais lost their guy in front. Vancouver tied it up not very long after Holloway had made it 1-0 Edmonton, but I am happy that the Oilers, for the most part, they controlled this game. They controlled the puck well. Puck management was terrific. Their power play, obviously, a bit of concerns right now with the power play. They had a 5-on-3 for about 55 seconds. They did not score on it. I think they only had 1 or 2 shots on the entire, extended power play. And Vancouver, at least, for Edmonton, at least their power play is also not clicking at the moment. Edmonton's penalty kill has been great. Vancouver's penalty kill has been great. Both teams have made adjustments. This game came down to 5-on-5 play, and the Edmonton Oilers, it doesn't happen often, but they came out on top in the 5-on-5 areas. So you look at the screen, there's the regular stats, 5-1 Edmonton. To my left, you have shots on goal, you have power play percentage, penalty minutes. Now, look at the hitting stats. Edmonton actually out-hit Vancouver. Now, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the first game in the series where the Oilers have actually thrown more hits than the Canucks. In Vancouver in Game 5, the Canucks pretty much doubled Edmonton in hitting. And there was a lot of people saying Edmonton had to be a little bit more physical just to assert themselves a bit more, get to the puck along the walls. And I thought Edmonton did that really well. They controlled the play at 5-on-5. They scored more goals at 5-on-5, and they were throwing more hits. So that's a good sign. There's concerns that, there might be a flu or a cold or something going around the Oilers locker room, but if there is, it didn't look like it last night. I think the one player that might be ill right now is Mattias Ekholm. He played the least amount of minutes last night for the Oilers. He played the least amount of minutes among defensemen, which, for someone of his caliber and, what they ask of him on a nightly basis, he only played 15-24 last night for defensemen. So obviously, I think Ekholm is the guy that's dealing with something. In place of Ekholm for minutes, they gave Desharnais almost 20 minutes of ice time last night. Cody Ceci played over 20 minutes. Evan Bouchard, he led all ice time for Edmonton at 22-25. So Mattias Ekholm, he's clearly battling, whether it's illness or injury. But I'm happy that the team overall, the ice time was finally lowered for most of the players. Like their big guns, no one played over 21 minutes as a forward. The only one who hit 21 minutes was Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Connor McDavid was close, though. He had 20 minutes, 59 seconds. But Leon Draisaitl only played 17:32 last night, so that's a good sign. And then, of course, the only forward that actually played less than 10 minutes for Edmonton was Connor Brown. He played 9:47. And, I actually thought Brown, Carrick, and Janmark played well. I liked Janmark's got a bit of a mean streak going on right now. If you noticed after whistles, he'll just go in and grab someone and just try and rough them up. Janmark, he's been kind of rough these days. And, I like to see that. He started to show that in the regular season. He had a couple fights, and Janmark is really starting to grow on me in this bottom six. For a lot of the regular season, I was attacking Janmark a lot. I was like, listen, get him out of the lineup. I don't want him playing. But for the most part, I've actually really liked Mattias Janmark in the postseason. He's chipped in with a goal, and he's got a bit of a mean streak to him, so I like that. And Stuart Skinner last night, like I mentioned, he had 1.7 goals saved above expected. There's going to be a lot to talk about. This video is not going to be nearly as long as the last day after that I made that ended up being like 38 minutes, but let's jump into it. And obviously, this is a Game 6 recap, but it says Game 5 recap at the top of the screen for some reason. I'll just quickly correct that. There we go. So, bottom of the screen, all the advanced statistics from 5-on-5 last night. in purple. So the Oilers expected goals for 48.55%, Corsi for percentage 55.67%, high danger Corsi for percentage 53.33%, scoring chances for 52.50%. All of this is from Natural Stat Trick. You can go on naturalstattrick.com and take a look at it. And it was interesting. I thought after the first two periods, Natural Stat Trick, I think, had the high danger chances in Edmonton's favor. It was like 6-3 or something from Natural Stat Trick. I took a look at it during the intermission, during the live stream. But then Sportsnet brought up a graphic on their screen, and the private data from SportLogic said that Vancouver had the high danger chances. It was 7-3 in favor of Vancouver. And I was sitting there, I was talking to the chat, I was like, SportLogic and Natural Stat Trick, there's a lot of variation when it comes to the advanced metrics and the high danger looks and how this stuff is tracked. So I think SportLogic is probably like more accurate. So when I post advanced statistics on the screen here, obviously just take it with a grain of salt. There's always a lot of variation in terms of, you know, the accuracy of these numbers. Like I said, SportLogic, it's more private data. So whatever data they have and wherever they're getting their numbers from and how they track it, it is different than Natural Stat Trick. Natural Stat Trick is different than Money Puck, so on and so on, right? So obviously most of these numbers were in the Oilers' favor. The expected goals for percentage was actually in the Canucks' favor. Third period, the Canucks were pushing, obviously. Edmonton knew that they would be pushing. The big thing last night for Edmonton was the fact that they had a 2-goal lead heading to the third, just like in game 1 and just like in game 3. And they did not sit back, game 4. And they did not sit back this time. They were actually pushing the pace. They were, making plays. They killed off the early power play for Vancouver. They had an extended power play from the end of the second. They had a 5-on-3, and then, of course, just a regular power play to start the third. Edmonton was able to kill that off. But the Oilers, they didn't sit back. They continued to play their game. They continued to hit. They continued to make plays in the neutral zone. They got pucks deep. They threw hits. They forechecked, and that's a good sign that Edmonton, it looks like, Chris Knobloch and the team, they've adjusted. They're learning. You can play with the lead without just sitting back to hold on to it. You can push the pace, and you can push the play. So when we're discussing all of that, our topics today: Game 7, 60 minutes, line matchup, Stuart Skinner, McDrai, Evan Bouchard, experience, and my closing thoughts. And as always, I will have all of this time-stamped for you. So if there's anything that you want to skip to, anything that you want to go back to, everything will be time-stamped, and it'll be very easy to pick where you want to go from the description of the video. So with all of that out of the way, this is a very long intro. My apologies. We're almost at 8 minutes already. So Game 7, yes. First topic is Game 7. Edmonton is forced to Game 7, and I feel like everyone deep down knew that this series was destined for 7 games. I feel like, even if you don't want to admit it, there's a lot of fans, on the Oilers side that were saying Oilers in 5 or 6. I've seen a lot of Canucks fans say Canucks in 5 or 6. But for the most part, I think deep down, all of our hearts and our heads, I think we all knew that this series was going to go 7 games. It just felt like it was destined for it. Every game was a 1-goal game until last night. There was finally a bit of a breakout for the Oilers. And I said in my live stream that, I said before the game started, I was like, listen, something's got to give here. Every game's been a 1-goal game. I was like, this is going to be a blowout. It's going to be a blowout for Vancouver or Edmonton. I was like, I don't know who. I was like, but this, it's one of those games where it's destined to be, finally someone's going to break out against the other. And for the Oilers, I'm happy it was them. Obviously, they live another day. Game 7 will be at Rogers Arena in Vancouver tomorrow at 7 p.m. Mountain, and I'm very much looking forward to it. The Oilers, they looked like a team with experience. They looked like a team that had been there before last night. And Vancouver, I'm not saying that they looked rattled, but they definitely didn't look like the Canucks that we've been accustomed to in this series. Even in the second and even in the third period. They're trying to press and they're trying to get themselves back in it. And Edmonton's play and keeping them to the outside, and Edmonton was frustrating them. I'm not going to lie. Edmonton looked like they were frustrating them. Rick Tocchet looked frustrated. And, for the Oilers, they forced a Game 7 and they had to play the way they did in order to do it. Stuart Skinner, everybody involved in that game, everyone that played for Edmonton contributed in some way positively, which was phenomenal to see. And with that, we're going to move into 60 minutes. As I mentioned, the whole team contributed. They needed to play a full 60-minute effort right from puck drop to the end of the game. In my pregame report, I said Edmonton needs to play every single minute that they're on the ice like it is their last minute of the season, because that's the mentality you need. Every single shift, you have to act like that is the last shift that you're going to play, and you need to play with desperation. And Edmonton last night, they played with desperation. You could see it pretty much right away from puck drop. And, Dylan Holloway, I loved his goal, by the way. The Oilers, the first 5, 6, 7 minutes of that first period, it felt like a chess match from both teams. Neither team was really able to establish a forecheck. There was a lot of pucks going into the neutral zone. It was being tipped into deep into the offensive zone, and then it's just being cleared by the defenders. And then, back and forth. That's all that was going on. Very little shots happening. But Draisaitl, he started skating up the ice, and I think Vancouver thought that he was just going to keep skating, so everyone was just kind of waiting for him to come up through the neutral zone. Well, Leon Draisaitl, he found Dylan Holloway with an outlet pass. Holloway already had some speed. He caught Hughes and Hronek flat-footed, managed to split the D, scored an absolutely beautiful goal to put the Oilers up 1, and I know Vancouver tied it not long after, but that's the type of goal and, the type of skill and the type of play that we've been looking for from Dylan Holloway. We know he has the speed. We know he has that physicality. We know he has the skill to be able to make those plays and get involved in the forecheck and, manage to get himself open. If Dylan Holloway can continue to play like that, find ways to get open, find areas of the ice for Draisaitl to hit you with that puck, Edmonton is in very good hands right now. And Dylan Holloway, he looks like he's on the verge of really taking that next step, and that is a good news if you're the Oilers. But like I mentioned, full 60-minute effort from the Oilers last night. Could not be happier with that effort. Obviously, happy today, but tomorrow going to be a lot more serious once again, because the job's not done. There's going to be one more game, and they have to play another solid 60 minutes. They have to do it 2 games in a row. No team in this series has won 2 games in a row. It's gone Vancouver, Edmonton, Vancouver, Edmonton, Vancouver, Edmonton. So if Edmonton wants to be the first one to win 2 in a row in this series and advance to the Western Conference Final, they need to play like they did last night, and there's no excuses here. Speaking of no excuses, I'm just going to segue into line matchups. So we have all seen JT Miller's line, his stats against Connor McDavid, Rick Tocchet. That's the line matchup that he wanted at home. He had Miller out against McDavid pretty much at all times. And, that Miller line had outscored McDavid at 5-on-5. They were generating the better chances. Connor McDavid in game 5 especially just did not look great. That's a testament to the Canucks system. That's a testament to JT Miller as a defensively responsible forward. Of course, he can produce offense too, but Miller, he's turned into a real solid player. Like JT Miller, a couple of years ago, Canucks fans were running him out of the building. They were throwing his jersey on the ice. There was all this discourse on social media. Everyone wanted him traded in Vancouver. I remember how crazy it was. Everyone said JT Miller was this toxic guy, yelling at his teammates, and there was a lot going on. And obviously, there was frustration with the team because they weren't doing as well as I think they thought they would. But JT Miller, he's just a gamer, man. He's just competitive. He wants to win all the time. And this has been kind of a coming out party for him this postseason, like in terms of his ability to shut down, one of, if not the best player in the NHL in the playoffs so far in the series. So Chris Knoblauch, he needed to make some adjustments. Last change, he did. He made sure McDavid wasn't really getting out there against the Miller line. I noticed Miller was mostly getting matched up with the Ryan McLeod line for Edmonton, and the McLeod, Ryan, and Fogle line. That's a good line. I like that line. I like their defensive, responsibilities. They don't really give up a whole lot. Until last night, Ryan McLeod had not been scored on at even strength when he was on the ice, but he was caught out there in the middle of a change before Höglander's goal. Sorry, I knew it was Höglander. So, I like that Chris Knoblauch, he made the adjustment. Miller started for Vancouver, and right from the opening draw, Knoblauch had the McLeod line out there. Now, when it comes to line matchups for Game 7, obviously Knoblauch does not get last change in Vancouver. So, Rick Tocchet, he's probably going to want to go back to the Miller versus McDavid line just because Miller has been very effective at shutting McDavid down. But if you're Chris Knoblauch, of course, he's going to try and make sure he's getting McLeod out there as much as possible, and he's going to try and get McDavid out against any line that's not the Miller line. But I am really happy that Chris Knoblauch, he made adjustments to the line matchups. It's clear that he is paying attention to some data at minimum, considering how he has, the deployment of his players. Jay Woodcroft, he used to talk in the post-game interviews after games, and he used to mention things like expected goals and possession and all this stuff. But then, he never actually made adjustments that proved whether or not he was listening or cared about the advanced metrics. For Chris Knobloch, it looks like he is actually taking the information that he's being given and he's making adjustments based off of that. And that is a very good sign. Chris Knobloch, I could not be happier with his coaching throughout these playoffs. Obviously, he's learning a lot right now, and Rick Tocchet is a terrific coach for Vancouver, but I do like Chris Knobloch's adjustments here. He's doing a really good job at making adjustments when he needs to, putting certain guys in the lineup, taking certain guys out. Last night, he big balls on Chris Knobloch putting Stuart Skinner in there. I think the general consensus was Skinner should not be playing. Obviously, Pickard didn't lose the net. Calvin Pickard did everything right to stay in. But like I mentioned kind of in my intro, for Stuart Skinner, he deserved to come in and have an opportunity to rewrite the script a little bit. And of course, we're going to segue into Skinner now. So for Stuart Skinner, he had 1.7 goals saved above expected. He had 14 saves on 15 shots. Now, obviously, that's not a lot of pucks hitting him or around him, but Vancouver had their looks and they did miss the net a few times. There was one specific save from Skinner, though, through traffic. I think it was in the second period, if I'm trying to remember here. And Skinner got his blocker on it, and it was a shot from Pettersson, I believe, kind of in the slot area, and it was through traffic. And after that save, I had a friend mention it as well. He's like, hey, like that could be a game saver, and obviously it was. That would have got Vancouver right back in the game. It's a huge save for Stuart Skinner. I thought he played well. He deserved the start last year against Vegas. We all know how that series played out. They kept starting him. A lot of fans didn't want him starting anymore, and he was been pulled numerous times in that Vegas series. Edmonton going into Game 6, they started Skinner when a lot of fans didn't want him to. And then Edmonton ended up losing Game 6 and being ousted by the Golden Knights. Now, last night, Game 6 on home ice, the Oilers, again, just like against Vegas, had the lead in every single game. Stuart Skinner looking a little shaky, but this time he goes in there and he shuts the door. I thought he played very well. He gave the team a chance to win. He did not give up a goal after that first period. Like I said, he didn't face a whole lot of rubber, but some of the shots that he did have to face, he did have to make some big saves on. Now, he looked a little unorthodox. He looked like he was struggling to track where the puck was in some situations. Obviously, I think Edmonton's lucky that Vancouver missed the net quite a few times with their shots. But for Stuart Skinner, super happy for him. I think he played great. He obviously deserves the start in Game 7. And, this could be a turning point, not only for him and the team, but for like his career and just how he wants to the narrative is going to change completely if Stuart Skinner and the Oilers win Game 7 here. And Chris Knobloch, he'll have a lot to do with that, but Stuart Skinner, he'll deserve all the credit too. So Stuart Skinner, we love that. Now, moving on, we're going to talk about McDrai, McDavid and Draisaitl, the two top guns for Edmonton. Obviously, Draisaitl's been producing all playoffs here, but Connor McDavid, he only had 1 point in his last 3 games heading into the game last night. And Connor McDavid ended up with 3 assists, all at 5-on-5. And for Connor McDavid, that's probably the best game I've seen him play in the postseason, especially at even strength. Edmonton's big guns, they were firing on all cylinders. They were making plays. Both of their lines had a ton of opportunities out there. McDavid assisted on Hyman's goal. He assisted on Bouchard goal, Bouchard, and he assisted on Ryan Nugent-Hopkins goal in the third period to put the Oilers up 4-1. And for Connor McDavid, obviously there's a lot of speculation. Is he injured? Is he sick? I think, honestly, the Vancouver Canucks have just played really good defense against him. I think they've just been, they found a way to shut him down for the most part. But I said earlier in the series, Connor McDavid is someone that you can only hope to contain, and you can only contain him for so long before he eventually just explodes like a volcano and he breaks out. And he definitely did last night. He had 3 assists. He had a +3 rating. He played almost 21 minutes. He had only 2 shots on goal, but, that's fine. He doesn't have to have a whole lot of shots on goal when he's moving the puck the way he is. But for Connor McDavid, that's a great sign heading into Game 7. Hopefully he can continue that momentum. And then Leon Draisaitl. So first of all, Draisaitl, want to say congratulations. He became the 3rd fastest player to 100 playoff points. He's done it in 60 games played. Leon Draisaitl, he's only behind Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux in that category. And Leon Draisaitl is actually first in NHL history in points per 60 minutes in the postseason. So far, obviously, the sample size is a little smaller considering some of the other players that have played throughout history. But for Leon Draisaitl, man, he's absolute beast mode in the postseason. Absolute beast mode. Now, he does not have a goal at even strength yet in the playoffs, I don't think. I'm pretty sure all of his goals have come on the power play. I will double check, though. He has 8 goals this postseason, and I think they're all power play goals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 power play goals. Okay, never mind. Maybe he does have one at even strength. I'm not sure. Or maybe it was 4-on-4 or something. But either way, obviously Draisaitl, his bread and butter is the power play. The power play has been struggling. It was nice to see him get a couple points at even strength last night. And then for Dylan Holloway, too, on that line with Draisaitl. And Evander Kane, by the way. Man, the crowd singing Living on a Prayer. And then the puck drops. Draisaitl wins the puck to Evander Kane, who shoots it through traffic. Shelovs, by the way, had no chance on most of these goals. If you're a Canucks fan and you're really upset at Shelovs, I think Edmonton did a good job at getting pucks through traffic and creating, areas where Shelovs would struggle to track the puck or make the save. But man, the crowd last night in Edmonton, I wish I was there. Holy smokes. If Edmonton manages to get to the conference finals, I need to find a way to get to a game, because like that crowd energy last night, they were singing Living on a Prayer. They were singing Country Roads. The crowd all night was terrific with their chanting, and, at least through the, watching on my TV, through the headphones, they sounded loud. And for Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, these two are the heartbeat and driving forces of offense on this team. And it's nice to see both of them clicking at the same time, considering they're not even on the same line right now. So that's even better. That means you had 2 lines clicking. Vancouver had no answer for 2 of those lines in the top 6. And Edmonton will be very successful at 5-on-5 if they're able to continue that kind of production and pressure from those 2 lines and those 2 players specifically. So McDavid and Draisaitl, we absolutely love to see that. But like I said, there's still a lot of work to be done here. Game 7, it's going to be interesting. Now, moving on here, I do want to quickly touch on Evan Bouchard. Evan Bouchard had another goal last night, another Bouch bomb. He could have had a second goal, actually, but at the end of the first period, it was called goaltender interference. McDavid got in a little too close to Shelovs, and whether he was bumped in a little bit or not, Chris Knoblauch did not challenge. The call on the ice was no goal. Now, I said during the live stream, because I had people being like, Edmonton should have challenged that, not goal interference. He was pushed into Shelovs. Listen, if you saw the goal that was taken away from Dallas in overtime 2 nights ago, you'll know why Chris Knoblauch did not make that challenge. That game against Colorado, the Dallas player was not even in the blue paint, and he was bumped into Georgiev, and they still upheld that call and said, you know what? No, that's goal interference, no goal. So there's no way in hell that they would have reversed that call on the ice last night if Chris Knoblauch had challenged. It's a good non-challenge. But for Evan Bouchard, man, like he has 18 points in the playoffs. He's the 3rd leading scorer in the postseason. He's behind only McDavid and Draisaitl. And he's only 24 years old. And the thing that I've really, really liked about Evan Bouchard is not only his ability to bounce back, but he's also got a bit of a mean streak to him in the postseason. He's getting involved after whistles. He's getting rough, the rough stuff. And for those who have Oilers Plus or Oilers TV, whatever it's called, I don't subscribe to it, but I see people post clips. His trash talking, he is constantly trash talking other players on the other team. I love Evan Bouchard. Now, last game, game 5, he was a -2. He did not look good. Him and Ekholm looked very bad. That was probably one of the worst games I've seen Bouchard play in weeks. But last night, huge bounce back game. He had 1 goal. He had 2 assists. He was a +4 rating. So for Evan Bouchard, this guy's going to get paid, by the way. And I've been saying this for quite a while. You give him a blank check. I don't care what it costs. I don't care what, roster moves you have to make to keep him. You give Evan Bouchard a blank check. This is a special player. Edmonton is lucky to have Evan Bouchard. He has been phenomenal. He's been absolutely dynamite in the postseason. And, when we look, and he's a +10 in the postseason too. So we talk about Edmonton's struggles scoring 5-on-5. Well, obviously, he's instrumental in helping the team when they do score at even strength. Him and Ekholm are driving forces on the back end for Edmonton, especially at even strength. Of course, the power play and the power play points for Bouchard are a bonus, but he's getting all of his goals and points at even strength right now. And Evan Bouchard, this is a special player. Edmonton is lucky to have him. We love the Bouch bomb, love to see it, and he's taken just a huge step in his development here. And I'm excited to see where his career ends up going. Of course, I hope Edmonton continues to, play well, and I hope they manage to get to the conference finals here, because I want to see him continue to just produce at an elite level for Edmonton. And with that, I'm going to segue here into experience. So Game 7 tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Now, why do I talk about experience? Well, a lot of people talk about experience, especially in the playoffs. That's something that, every time the Oilers are eliminated, everyone's always like, well, it's a learning experience. We got to learn from this. This is an experience. Like every single team that gets eliminated from the playoffs, the narrative is, well, that's a learning experience. Will be better for next time. For the Edmonton Oilers, they've been in this position before. They've been in Game 7s before with this core. They've been down 3-2 in a series and forced a Game 7 with this core in the past. For the Edmonton Oilers, this is the time to really prove that all of those learning experiences that they've talked about, all of these opportunities that they've had, where they came up short. This is an opportunity here to go in tomorrow night into Vancouver and shut them down, win the game, and move on to the conference finals. If experience truly does matter, they are going to prove it tomorrow in Game 7. And if you're the Vancouver Canucks, obviously this is, you're in a position here in Vancouver where a lot of these players don't have a lot of playoff experience, especially not this type of pressure. Now the pressure's on them. They're in front of their home ice crowd, and it'll be interesting to see how they respond, who steps up for the Canucks. It'll also be interesting to see who steps up for the Oilers. Now, last night for Edmonton, it was all their big guns for the most part, but you had Dylan Holloway chip in. You had Evander Kane chip in with a goal. So, when we look at that factor, can Vancouver contain the veterans on the Oilers who have been here before and know what it takes to get the job done? And for the Oilers, are they able to, take care of business and take care of a team that doesn't maybe have as much experience overall as a team? And can Edmonton take care of that? Can they go in and, this should be business as usual for Edmonton. They have one goal in mind. They have one job to do. And, if they play like they did last night, just be committed to it. Like Edmonton, this should be business as usual. For Vancouver, obviously you're looking to prove everybody wrong here. You're looking to prove all of the pundits, all the ESPN pundits and Sportsnet and all these analysts that said Edmonton in 5 or 6. Like there's a chip on Vancouver's shoulder here. There is a real chip on their shoulder, and that can be a huge factor in determining outcomes in games because, a lot of people did write off the Canucks. I was never one of them. I said this series was going 7 right from the get-go in my series preview video. But there's a lot of talking points that Edmonton should have just walked all over the Canucks. I never bought that for a second. I never understood that for a second. And Vancouver has proven to be a terrific team. And this is one of the best playoff series I've ever watched in my entire life. Not even just as an Oilers fan. Like every single game, there's been comebacks. Every game, for the most part, is a 1-goal game until last night. The fan experience, the online social media, that discourse has been absolutely wild. So for the Edmonton Oilers, experience doesn't matter. They're gonna prove whether it matters or not tomorrow. And if you're an Oilers fan, obviously you want this thing to be wrapped up for Edmonton. You want to go up against Dallas in the conference finals, but we can't look that far. That's all I'm going to say about that. So, closing thoughts. Overall, like the game last night, obviously there's still a little bit that the Oilers can clean up. If you're the Canucks, they have an opportunity to bounce back. They have an opportunity to take the series on home ice. I did want to mention, and I'm really sorry, Canucks fans, if you did not know this is the first Game 7 being played in Rogers Arena in Vancouver since Game 7 against the Bruins in 2011 in the Stanley Cup Final. And I read that fun fact last night. So hopefully, depending the result of the game, obviously we all know what happened after Game 7. I don't think the fans are going to actually get intense or anything. But for Vancouver, there's a lot of emotion here, and they're home ice fans. They get an opportunity to witness something special if Vancouver wins. And for Edmonton, obviously you want to rip their hearts out of their chest a little bit and be like, nope, this is our time. So it'll be very interesting to see. I am very excited for Game 7. If you liked this day after discussion and you like my playoff content and you want to see more live streams, more daily content, that sort of thing, make sure you like the video today. If you really liked it, make sure you hit subscribe if you are not yet subscribed. All of your support is truly amazing. We're already almost at 2,600 subscribers. I remember just 2-3 days ago, I was like, hey, we hit 2,300 subscribers. Thanks. Yeah, we're already, we're climbing to that 3,000 subscriber level already, which has been absolutely unbelievable. So I want to thank everyone for your support. It truly means the world to me. So yeah, like the video, make sure you subscribe, and at some point today, tell someone that you love them, all right? Have a good rest of your Sunday on this beautiful May long weekend if it is nice where you live. And if it's not super nice, enjoy being indoors and hopefully being nice and cozy. And we'll see you tomorrow with the pregame report, all right? Let's go Oilers. Thank you so much, Oil Country. You are the best.